Gear up, because this is the Fuel Your Marketing podcast, designed to accelerate sales and grow your business. Let's welcome your host, Arti Sharma.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fuel Your Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Arti, and today I have with me a fantastic director of marketing from Voxx Electronics Corporation. Voxx has been predominantly known to create security products and replacement transmitters, as well as rear seat entertainment for commercial and consumer vehicles. With me, I have Seth Halstead. Seth, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Arti. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you, yourselves, your role at Voxx, and let's roll.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for this opportunity. I think this will be something that your viewers and listeners may find as a little bit different than what they may have experienced here, and hopefully maybe more relatable in some regards to some of your listeners. So I'm really looking forward to this. So I come to the table with a realm of experience, more so in consumer electronics and a focus on the aftermarket automotive side of that business. Mm-hmm. And my experience stems from virtually a start in this industry at a company called American TV and Appliance. And this was really a store that you'd think of kind of like a Best Buy, but it also has furniture, and it was just really a step above. And it was a great experience. I started out in customer service, and that gave me it got my feet wet in the whole idea of everything to do with consumer electronics. And from there, it grew into a multitude of different businesses. In the retail side of the business, I really got focused on the automotive aftermarket side and worked for companies that allowed me to be a part of sales and, of course, management, in really getting a taste of management in an automotive aftermarket type business. Marketing was something that I really started to get, I will say, excited about in just a very basic traditional type format. I remember we had a store that we needed some new product displays, and it was my first experience in trying to understand Photoshop and layers in the early 2000s, just to be able to put some great designs up of vehicles, and we'd laugh if we looked at them today. So from building that side of my experience, that moved into the distribution side of the business. And when we refer to distribution in the automotive aftermarket, this is really who the manufacturer is selling their products to, one of the networks that they use to sell their products to, and then that distributor, of course, would be the go-to instant contact for any local type accounts in that area. And from there, I entered into the world of the manufacturing side of the automotive aftermarket business. That's where things started to get really fun, and my really, interest in marketing went into full throttle. As I entered into working at a company called JBC Kenwood, I was hired in as managing the training department. And as a part of managing the training department, besides the need for having to have physical type trainings, it was really a time where we started this whole idea of even doing any sort of a virtual training or anything to do with videos. And the very first time that I ever recorded any sort of a video that would even tiptoe on the word content or content marketing, I remember my boss, he shipped me a laptop and a video camera, and he said, go at it, right? And so I learned from that point forward. I remember holding a literally a blanket up to try to have it be a green screen.
Wow.
Now I've got a green screen wall in my background. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier to have that smooth effect. But I was the first one to do an unboxing video at our company.
Wow.
And that unboxing.
So you've seen the lows and the highs of traditional marketing to coming to the digital landscape and using videos back then to now seeing video transform the overall marketing landscape with all the surge of all the video content that we see today. And look at this, what we're doing today, right? So you've seen it all.
Yeah,
Congratulations on a glorious journey.
yeah, thank you. And you couldn't be more right about the video marketing side of things. I was right at that pivotal moment where I was able to experience
Mhm.
that side of the business. And so
Mm,
just rolled with video marketing. And as we know, the ROI on video marketing is just incredible what you get from that. And it just
100%.
lives on for so long. So,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
has superseded all the text that exists today on the internet. So videos are the
it
most watched medium of content today. I mean, there's so much that you bring to the table, Seth. So thank you once again. And question for you is more around the digital transformation in consumer electronics. Like you've got this manufacturing, consumer side, content side, learning from the customer service, being on the shop floors, from the traditional marketing standpoint as well. So given your experience, in leading different marketing initiatives, be traditional or digital and content related. How do you see the overall digital transformation reshaping the consumer electronics industry? Do you have any insights based on the rich experience that you bring specifically in this market? What trends do you think you'd be paying attention to for our listeners in the space?
Yeah, certainly. And let me provide some context on that. Going into the whole idea of the digital transformation is something that in the automotive aftermarket industry we've seen a lot of resistance to. And
Mm,
the need to have, we'll talk about just a product catalog, because
mhm,
consumer electronics, there's so many intricacies to these different products. Consumers like to see the pictures of these different types of things. Having that in a retail storefront is still important. And so the idea of having that type of a brochure, or now as my work with Voxx Electronics, besides calling on retailers, we call on upfitters, expediters that will call
mhm,
on car dealerships, having
mhm,
to have a physical flyer, something like that, that we
mhm,
would refer to as that traditional marketing is still needed.
mhm,
However, we have seen tremendous possibilities and the ability to come into that digital marketing age with so many of these accounts, even though there's been more so resistance in this industry, I think, than maybe some other industries based upon the aforementioned. But
mhm,
when we start talking about the opportunity and the reach that you can have with email marketing, for example.
mhm,
This is
mhm,
something that we've been encouraging a lot of our accounts to be active in. It's something that we are personally very active in getting the word out. Tracking measurements of email marketing has been really important to us. Of course,
mhm,
social media marketing. This is
mhm,
something that has been the for some people it's been difficult, but for others they just find it so easy because, as you know, they're using it on their own anyways. Why not use it
mhm,
as a part of your business and
mhm.
then teach them some best practices, running some targeting advertising campaigns, be it on Facebook, Instagram, however you want, has been something that we've been encouraging as well. And
Mm.
much
Those are the
more
trends
from
that
there.
you're seeing are emerging more and more. You really kind of talked about the bridging that traditional, or I would say the old age marketing with the modern marketing. Um, there is a need to direct your marketing based on who you're serving, right? Your ideal customers. Looks like that in the upfitters scenario, you still have to do some of those traditional marketing campaigns to make sure that your product is being heard, listened to, and understood. And even in the training side of things, you're kind of integrating videos, looks like from a content standpoint, to reach your ideal customers, educate them. But you can get away from the traditional way of doing business because your ICP probably requires that level of marketing still. Is that what you say? The transformation has been to adoption to digital has been a little slower, but you still are kind of seeing a trend which is emerging and more uptake is happening. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah, completely. It's something that's been so interesting, and even as we've gone in the last several years, as
Yeah.
people were starved for some of the traditional marketing content, as we were all forced to be just digital for a period of
Mhm.
really a couple of years, we've seen a little bit of that come back. But the fact
Mhm.
remains is that there are things like that are important. Having in-store product displays, be it at
Mhm.
a dealership,
Mhm.
at a Best Buy, at an independent store, at a car
Mhm.
toys. those types of things are still very, very important. The in-store marketing materials are still important.
Mhm.
However, again, we're seeing a much, much, much better ROI on everything that we're doing in the digital landscape, of course, as we've
Yeah.
mentioned. And so that's something that we are continuing to see better adoption rates on. And as we're
Mhm.
able to prove what it's able to do, our accounts are able to see some tangible benefits from it. And it is really exciting. There are a lot of parts of our industry that are getting into online advertising extremely heavily as well.
Mhm.
We try to be a part of online forums and communities as another
Mhm.
part of what we have to do. We're starting to see our businesses leverage even AI and chatbots.
Of
It's great
course.
to see some of
Mhm.
our accounts updating their digital footprint and having that off hours person answer those questions on their websites. And so
Mm.
we're seeing different parts of this be adopted more so. And I think it's moving. I know it's moving a lot faster than it was. I know for us at Voxx Electronics, we're in the process of a complete digital transformation with all of our web
100%.
properties right now.
Yeah, I
And
could tell.
it's moving so quickly.
Speed
And
of light, huh? Speed
yeah,
of light.
yeah, you're going to see so many changes on our end. It's something that will be a focus. And I think what's so important is that we have to be the leaders for those that we serve. And so we have to set that precedence. And it's something that we're not there right now as our company. I've been on board with Voxx Electronics for about 4 months right now. So
Mhm.
we're just in the process of going through a huge transformation over the course of the next several months and early years. But you're going to see us as a leader for how we are adopting and getting into the digital transformation ourselves.
Well, that's great to know. And you've got some extensive experience in the content marketing per se, specific pillar of content marketing in this overall digital space. And you've touched upon email marketing, social media, etc. Can you tell me how important are these elements in building a brand's identity and engaging the customers? Like, should you do it just because everyone is on social media, or are there any tips for creating compelling visual content for creating that brand identity? Are there any specifics that you would say companies in manufacturing and specifically consumer electronics, let's say, or aftermarket or servicing, or even in reaching out to different ICPs through maybe some of the other channels, specifically in overall manufacturing, not just in consumer electronics, if you will? What do you see are the trends, and how can brand identity be built using and leveraging a variety of different content mediums?
Well, I think you probably know this better than anyone, and it's that consistency is key with all of
Hmm.
these things.
Hmm.
With Voxx Electronics, we are a house of brands. So I
Mm.
actually oversee 29 different brands of products,
Wow.
which is an incredible challenge. And it's something that I'm really excited about. One of the first things we'll touch on email marketing first. One of the first
Hmm.
things that I came on board and started working through was putting together the frameworks and the foundations so
Hmm.
that we would have consistent email marketing communications for
Hmm.
whatever specific brand we were going to be focusing on.
Hmm.
Viper is our hero brand for alarm and remote start systems for vehicles. If you
Hmm.
talk to somebody and you say, you've got a car security system, if you say the name Viper, likely they'll know that it's a
Hmm.
recognizable name. And
Hmm.
so when we talk about Viper, for example, Viper has some incredible history, and so we
Hmm.
bring up the history. Viper has we have Vinny the Snake. That's like the
Hmm.
you know the, the
Hmm.
the part of it. No one dares come close is our
Yeah.
tagline. And so we from our color schemes that we have, our branding, to the messaging that we have, to
Hmm.
the graphics. It's something that on all touch points, from our email marketing communications to our consumers to our social media marketing, we just keep it consistent, and we also try to do it on a regular basis. So the communications that come out and will be scheduled to come out are something that I think is just so key, is that you have that consistency. You can have, you know when you try things with marketing, right, everyone's going to mess up. You're not going to always put out the right information, the right things. But if you are showing your customers that you are continuously there, that you are continuously in our industry, and I'm sure in most of your listeners, that you are being innovative and that you are staying on top of things and you're paying attention and listening to your audience and any concerns that you have. That's what's key. And so I think that's probably just the most important thing that I want to be sure that people just understand is that you keep it going, keep it going, you
So
keep it going.
consistent cadence is what you would say is important, no matter what channel you choose, whatever I would say mediums you choose to communicate with your ideal customers or your prospects. It's just about consistent cadence and having your brand guide front and center to make sure that you kind of reinforcing that brand, be it through your graphics or through your messaging tone, voice, etc. Is that correct?
It's perfect, right? We have to make it easy for people.
Yeah,
That's the
because
whole
there's so
key.
much thrown at them these days, so much noise out there. How do you stand out? And as you said, you have to be creative. You have to keep testing. Marketing is all about testing. Sometimes you would hit the spot, sometimes you would not, right? And then at the end of the day, if you're consistent and your cadence is set, I think people recognize it, and your brand starts to reinforce. You've touched upon touch points as well, and which brings me to your overall content strategy experience. You worked with JVC, Kenwood in your previous roles as well. So talk to me a little bit about, what are the key elements of a successful content strategy that kind of engages both B2B and B2C? What would you say?
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing is having a plan, right? And
Hmm.
so when we talk about strategy, you have a plan. So as an example, one of the
Hmm.
things that I put together at one of my recent companies, and I use going forward is called my online checklist. And
Hmm.
so the online checklist would be something where, okay, we were going to have kind of a 12-step program, and
Hmm.
it would be online reviews and testimonials. Email
Hmm.
marketing would be
Hmm.
one, social
Hmm.
media marketing,
Hmm.
user-friendly website design,
Hmm.
optimized for search engines. You have all of these different
Hmm.
specifics, and then within each of those categories that
Hmm.
that you have in this plan, you're going to have your sub points that you're always going to be paying attention to. So
Hmm.
if it's your online call to action, it's your specific call to action that you're talking about with that. So having that put together. If we're talking about social media marketing, it's having that calendar put together, planned
Hmm.
out so that you have a theme to what you're doing. You have a plan that you're putting together. So for YouTube, for example, it's having
Hmm.
that grouping. For us, it's putting together the grouping of the different brands, structuring that in a method that's easy for our users to be able to understand and get access to. And so I
Yeah.
think the key is just everyone's going to have a different sort of a plan, whether you need to use project management for it, whether you have your own form of whatever plan it is,
Hmm.
it's something that is incredibly critical. When we work with our
Hmm.
web team, we use the Jira project management system
Hmm.
because it's something that for our web developers, it just makes the most sense. And so as we're developing and we have requests, we can use this as our plan. That's our
Hmm.
strategy. Everyone gets the communication in that format. And it's done differently with different divisions within our company. But if you don't have a plan and you don't have a process, then you have a mess, right? And
Yeah.
so
And you don't
again, it
have
all
clarity as well for cross-functional teams. It looks like that you're kind of engaging a variety of different people, specialists on your team to do different things, especially with the number of brands that you manage internally and the divisions that you have under you. I'm assuming that you work with cross-functional teams and you have specialists working on it, right? Do you remember the days when there was one graphic designer who was told that you are the marketing person and now you got to do it all? But that has ever since changed. Hopefully, your organization is seeing that the way it is, and it should change accordingly. What are you? How are you building your team? I know that before we got on the show, you were mentioning that you've been commissioned to build a complete department from the ground up. Talk to me a little bit about what are your focus areas on how do you structure your marketing department, especially for the digital wave that has kind of blown us away, and we are now kind of all matching trying to kind of keep up with all the artificial intelligence, ICPs. Our channels are varied. Our consumers are on a variety of different channels, and we have to cater to digital, traditional, and all sort of people, right? So there's a lot that's going on in that mix. Talk to me. How are you structuring your team and your departments, especially in the marketing side?
Yeah. So it's kind of like you had eyes in the back of your head looking at our company at a little bit of what was going on. It's pretty incredible what we've got going on here again. So having a house of brands, I was really hired on to, like you mentioned, restructure and rebuild an entire marketing department, and having to understand. We use what's called shared services in our company, and so we have different divisions. So we have our OEM division that would sell products directly to companies like Stellantis and others, and then we have our automotive aftermarket, and then we have which is my division for Voxx Electronics, and then we have our premium audio brands, and our hero brand there would be Klipsch, is one of our companies that we acquired several years ago, and each of these different divisions, shall we say, kind of has their own teams. And then we have a whole housing of shared services that we use for administrative, for web services. And so having to understand this was something that was a challenge for me coming on board as a very different structure. So yes, I've been going through this whole mix of who does what, and thinking, okay, well, there's really not a marketing department that exists for my division right now. Obviously, that's what I'm hired on to do. But there are people that are serving marketing functions spread all throughout the company. We have in-house app developers. We had a graphic artist that's focusing just on creating the graphics and content. We have product trainers that are part of our service division. That this is one of the most critical things, especially for our vehicle security. We have something called direct text, and with direct text, this is an online vehicle database, and so we have someone that's in charge of managing this, and then so that's a part of web and marketing. So we've got all of these different marketing touch points that are people that are really a part of marketing, but we also need people that, of course, are going to specialize on different functions. And so I've recently hired on people that are going to be focused on, for example, what is going to be design and content marketing, because our this is going to be a content design specialist. And I think both of those things just intertwine. There's so much content that is needed for what we do as brands, whether it be a product sell sheet, a new product fact sheet, a battle card if we want to show what's good on one brand versus another brand, a video that we're creating, internal, external facing, whatever it may be, and then of course a digital marketing specialist. This is just huge. We need someone that can focus solely on everything digital marketing. It's an unending list, and then
100%.
and then of course more marketing employees that can fill in the gaps for everything else that's in between there. So I'm just undergoing this incredible process.
What I'm hearing is that you need specialists for different functions now. Gone are the days where you can have one person and he will be all and end all for marketing. Today, there's a need for more specialized skills to be able to perform certain jobs and do them really well. So
you do, and that's also where I'm working with several different marketing agencies as well that specialize in different tasks, because there's so many different things that are possibilities, and you have to pick and choose which ones are the most effective, of course, as you know intimately.
Yeah, one thing that will move the needle, what is prioritize your priorities is always, I say to my team and say, as leaders, you're always prioritizing your priorities, but you also have to stay utterly focused to do a few things and do them really well, and which will really have a major impact on your overall bigger objectives. So it looks like that you're doing all the things right. Now, you've serviced OEMs, and you've also now your role is aftermarket services, correct?
Correct. So I'm working with the automotive aftermarket division, which is something that is, again, it's really exciting because we're hitting a mix of individuals that perhaps have been a part of this business for a long time, and sometimes it's hard and it's hard for people to change that have been as a part of this. This might have been someone that has been selling and installing a Viper car alarm system or an AudioVox headrest system for 20 or 30 years.
Right.
Experienced a lot of highs and lows. But then at the same token, we are marketing to an entire new wave that has an entirely new vision of what their storefronts are going to look like and what their business model is going to look like.
And they're constantly learning from you, I'm sure, too. So what are some key differentiators in your mind when you probably have noticed in marketing to, OEMs versus aftermarket services, the folks that we just talked about? And how do you think these differences impact customer engagement? OEMs, aftermarket, and then differences that impact the overall engagement of those end consumers?
Yeah. So the OEM side of the business is a really different side of the business. It's something that I don't have significant experience with, but now with my new company and working with Voxx Electronics Corporation, we're under the Voxx Automotive umbrella. And for Voxx
Mhm.
Automotive, we have our OEM side of the business, and then of course, again, the aftermarket side of the business. And with the OEM side of the business, when you are working through the extreme requirements that the OEM has when you're developing
Mhm.
products, the cycle is very long in working with
Mhm.
this. So you are developing very intense long-term relationships with each of these
Mhm.
clients. In the aftermarket, things are much quicker to happen. Of course, you're having to uh, you're having to make some sort of a product that is more so typically it's a universal type product, although there's
Mhm.
specific ones. In the OEM, you are making it exactly for that specific
Mhm.
vehicle. So
Mhm.
the requirements vary quite a bit when you talk about the manufacturing side of things and the relationship side of it. Now, as we market and sell products into these different outlets, the automotive aftermarket, again, we are working with retailers, we are working with these upfitters,
Mhm.
expediters, and
Mhm.
so going to market with each of them, the personalized experience, the phone calls, the email marketing, there's whatever way works for each individual is the way that it works. With again the OEM side of the business and in placing products into there, just a very different spectrum of how how you go to market, how you work with these companies. So it's an interesting balance.
Yeah, and I think you're doing all the things right to keep customers front and center and how to approach them, be through whatever channel it could be, email marketing, any videos, tutorials, training, content marketing, or being in the forums. Looks like that you've got it all under control, which is interesting because there's quite a few avenues for communication, and it looks like that you're actively putting some systems and processes and leveraging the best resources that are available to you. Maybe they're fractional, but you're using them and leveraging your internal resources to do the job and keep moving your brand forward. So it looks like that there is another segment to it, which is innovation. How are you innovating not just your product but also the way you're reaching either the upfitters or after service end consumers? Do you have any strategies or motions in play with your go to market to reach the end consumer and create the brand through the end consumer strategy standpoint?
Yeah, so that is exactly right, and all of the things that you just mentioned is exactly where we're at. Me being much uh, as a fresh face, we'll say, into the current company that I'm at. We are at the fractional level of getting to where we are going to be and setting the
Mhm.
precedent for in the upcoming years. But as we do that, the new forms of communication, getting into, for example, we talked about email marketing, getting into SMS marketing, asking for those phone numbers and going that direction so that we can be where that customer is and the way that they want to receive that communication.
Mhm.
That's one of the things that we will be
Mhm.
actively as a part of in the upcoming months and years ahead. I think it's critical. If you can have your local restaurants contacting you to tell you that they've got a special going on, why not that there's a sale on your Viper security system or your Rosen headrest or your seats,
Wow.
and so there's the ways that our customers can use that form of communication, but we're going to also use that communication to our customers. There's a sale on this product. Hey, these new leather seats have just hit and we've got them ready for you. You can order them right now. We know these are
Right.
in demand for this new Jeep vehicle, so we want to
Mhm.
get that communication out. So I think staying on top of the whatever it is just critical. And again, as we talked about, just having that plan and a process in place, having it written down in whatever form that means for you or anyone that's
Mhm.
listening is just what's most critical. Yes, stand out, that's important, but at the same token, consistently communicate.
That's amazing. And that's where the cohesiveness of integrated marketing comes into play. Having worked with a ton of manufacturing and consumer product companies, we understand at the company itself, and I've been involved at cohesive, integrated marketing with the right plan, and as you said, the right cadence is such a critical pillar to get your go to market right and get to those goals faster, and making sure that even if you make any mistakes, you can recover from them faster, as long as you have your big cohesive strategy outlined. Well, thank you so much, Seth, for sharing the insights, the goodness of the consumer electronics and the consumer electronics space with us, telling us, sharing with us what all things you are up to. I can't wait to see Voxx change the game plan and be the leader of the pack in adopting digital technologies. So thank you once again for joining me on the show. And and tell me and my listeners, how can they find you? Is it LinkedIn the best source to connect with you and follow you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks again for having me on the show, and to all of your listeners, thanks for tuning in. It's been an incredible opportunity. And yes, LinkedIn would be the easiest way to connect with me directly. That's definitely the easiest method of communication for me. And if there's anything I can do to help you, any of the listeners on, would love to make that connection.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining in, and hopefully there's a part two in a few more months or a year.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Fuel Your Marketing podcast. For more episodes, visit www.fuelyourmarketing.com.